Last year, the United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran, despite opposition from the previous government. Will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions?
Desecration is awful and I think should be condemned across the House. We are, as I said before, Mr. Speaker, committed to tackling all forms of hatred and division, including, of course, Islamophobia in all of its forms. Thank you.
Is the Labour Party finally crumbling under the weight of its own contradictions? In a shocking turn of events, Keir Starmer's misstep on the controversial Islam criticism ban has forced an abrupt U-turn that no one saw coming. With backlash mounting and credibility on the line, can the Labour Party recover from this political firestorm? Let's break it all down.
I was astonished that the vacillating Prime Minister did not take the opportunity to rule out definitively blasphemy laws in this country. They have no place in modern British society. This is the land of Monty Python and the life of Brian after all. Will the Minister take the opportunity to do what the Prime Minister would not and rule out completely any opportunity to introduce blasphemy laws?
Adding fuel to the fire, John Cooper, a fellow MP, delivered a scathing rebuke. He declared that blasphemy laws had no place in modern British society, referencing Britain's history of satire and free expression, with examples like Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Religions.
Can I agree with him that desecration is awful and I think should be condemned across the House? We are, as I said before, Mr. Speaker, committed to tackling all forms of hatred and division, including, of course, Islamophobia in all of its forms. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I was astonished that the vacillating Prime Minister did not take the opportunity to...
Hey, quick favour before we move on. If you find this political content interesting, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Most of you watch without subscribing and it's totally free, but it helps us out so much. Have you done it yet? Thanks a ton for the support. Now, let's get back to the video. The controversy erupted in the House of Commons when Labour MP Tahir Ali urged the Prime Minister to introduce laws prohibiting the desecration of religious texts and prophets. This came in response to a United Nations Human Rights Council resolution condemning such acts. Ali's call for action sparked an intense debate about free speech, religious respect, and blasphemy laws in a modern democracy. Keir Starmer's response to Ali's proposition was cautious, almost evasive. He condemned desecration, but avoided taking a firm stance against blasphemy laws. This hesitation drew immediate criticism, with opponents accusing him of prioritising political correctness over democratic principles. Critics argue that Starmer's reluctance to outright reject blasphemy laws demonstrates weak leadership. His attempt to balance respect for religious communities with Britain's long-standing commitment to free speech satisfied neither side. Instead, it painted him as indecisive at a time when clarity was crucial. This is not the first time Starmer's cautious approach has backfired. His leadership style, often described as overly diplomatic, has repeatedly alienated both progressive supporters and more traditional Labour voters.
Medieval laws around blasphemy. Okay, he's using the modern language of Islamophobia and hatred, but what he's really talking about is saying that people who desecrate the Quran, people who insult the religion of Islam, should be punished by the law.
Facing mounting criticism, Labour made a surprising reversal. Starmer clarified that the party would not support introducing blasphemy laws. While this decision might seem like a win for free speech advocates, it also exposed the party's internal struggles. The U-turn left many questioning Labour's ideological compass. Was this a principled stand, or merely damage control? For critics, it was evidence of a party too preoccupied with appeasing conflicting factions to offer decisive leadership.
He only needed to say one word, and that word was no.
Yeah.
The fact that he couldn't use that word is really, really chilling and alarming.
Yeah.
Someone who is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the 21st century ought to be aware that we do not want...
The public response was swift and divided. Free speech advocates celebrated the decision as a victory for democratic values. However, others viewed it as a missed opportunity to address growing religious tensions in the UK.
Free speech is a fundamental value of ours, and the fact that it didn't even come to him at all. It didn't even. It was not barely even an afterthought. The worrying thing is that Labour is going down this route of wanting to restrict so-called Islamophobia. Now, everyone is opposed to racism against Muslims, and if you see it...
This incident also fueled broader concerns about Labour's ability to govern. If the party struggles to navigate issues like this, how can it handle the complexities of leading a nation? At the heart of this controversy lies a deeper societal debate. How do we balance religious respect with freedom of expression? While the desecration of religious texts is undeniably offensive to many, critics argue that codifying such prohibitions undermines the freedoms that define modern democracy. In a multicultural society like the UK, these tensions are particularly pronounced. Leaders must navigate the fine line between fostering unity and protecting individual liberties. Starmer's missteps highlight just how challenging this can be.
Illustration of what is meant by Islamophobia. It means Islamic blasphemy laws. If you make Islamophobia illegal, then you make it difficult to challenge Islam, the aspects of the religion, certain religious practices, but even Islamist extremism.
The blasphemy controversy isn't Labour's only challenge. Dame Priti Patel recently criticised the party for cutting winter fuel payments, accusing it of betraying pensioners. This added to the perception of Labour as out of touch with ordinary Britons. Similarly, Labour faced backlash over its net zero policies. Critics argue that these initiatives disproportionately harm low-impact households while benefiting wealthy eco-activists. These issues further illustrate the party's struggle to connect with voters.
Of wanting to restrict so-called Islamophobia. Now, everyone is opposed to racism against Muslims, and if you see it and hear it, you should call it out and you should challenge it. But when this actually was a very clear illustration of what is meant by Islamophobia, it means Islamic.
Starmer's handling of the blasphemy debate raises serious questions about his leadership. His cautious approach alienated both his base and potential swing voters. To regain public trust, Starmer must demonstrate greater decisiveness and a clear vision for Labour's future. This incident also underscores the importance of strong internal cohesion. Labour's inability to present a united front weakens its credibility as a viable alternative to the current government.
Where we would find it difficult, say, after an Islamist terror attack, to criticise the perpetrator.
Yeah.
That's the route that Keir Starmer really wants to go down.
I mean, we're sort of already halfway there, aren't we? Because, I mean, we have conversations all the time about, the tiptoeing around subjects that people do, whether they're politicians or members of the media or...
The Labour Party's recent controversies offer valuable lessons in political leadership. First, clarity and decisiveness are essential in navigating complex issues. Second, a strong internal consensus is crucial for presenting a coherent vision to the public. As Labour moves forward, it must address these challenges head-on. Whether by refining its messaging or fostering stronger internal unity, the party has much work to do.
The Batley Grammar School incident where a teacher showed his pupils a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, a perfectly legitimate thing to do in a religious studies class, but then he has been hounded out of his job into hiding. There's no protection for him.
The debate over blasphemy laws is a microcosm of broader societal tensions in the UK. It highlights the challenges of balancing religious respect with democratic freedoms in an increasingly diverse society. For the Labour Party, this controversy is both a cautionary tale and an opportunity for growth. By learning from its missteps, the party can emerge stronger and more focused. But whether it seizes this opportunity remains to be seen.
Month or whatever else. And actually, I don't know how you can be phobic against Islam. For everything you've just said, Will, would be deemed Islamophobic under the legislation forthcoming as it is under the Labour government. So anything that we've ever said about this issue, and I've had threats on the streets in London for talking about these issues, they will be given legal teeth to actually come after people.
But it's worth...
The Labour Party's sudden U-turn on the issue of blasphemy laws has ignited a fierce debate, leaving political analysts and citizens alike questioning the party's direction. At the heart of this controversy is Keir Starmer's hesitant approach to addressing calls for restrictions on the desecration of religious texts, a move that has drawn sharp criticism from all sides of the political spectrum. Critics argue that the Labour leader's lack of decisiveness highlights deeper leadership challenges, while supporters see it as a necessary balancing act in a diverse society. The controversy erupted during a parliamentary session when Labour MP Tahir Ali called for the UK to consider laws prohibiting the desecration of religious texts. While Starmer condemned such acts as divisive and harmful, his vague response stopped short of firmly rejecting the idea of blasphemy laws. This cautious rhetoric was seen by many as a missed opportunity to reaffirm Britain's commitment to free speech and democratic values.
We also create a very clear distinction between free speech and hate speech.
Right, brief.
The key distinction Renee's just made is the distinction between something which is morally wrong and illegal, and unfortunately we forgot about that distinction in society.
Well, and incites violence as a result. That's the key element of hate
There's no
speech.
evidence in 60 years that you say something.
The Labour Party's subsequent U-turn only added fuel to the fire, with critics accusing it of abandoning core principles in favour of appeasing specific voter bases. For a party that has long championed progressive ideals, this incident underscores a growing identity crisis. Can Labour reconcile its multicultural agenda with the need to uphold fundamental freedoms?
That reaction is perfect because the fact that you have in the back of your mind that that would be the consequence for doing such a thing is a deterrent for doing it. You can criticise religion, do not desecrate the text.
Would you call Anton up to the magistrates?
No, I wouldn't, because they haven't burnt a Bible.
So, one second. But they're making jokes about Christianity.
That is,
Christianity.
As public trust in political institutions wanes, moments like this demand clarity and conviction from leaders. Starmer's response, or lack thereof, reflects the broader challenges facing Labour in navigating the complexities of modern governance. With this latest U-turn, the question remains: is Labour adapting to the times or losing sight of its values? The fallout from this decision will undoubtedly shape perceptions of the party's ability to lead in an increasingly polarised political landscape. What do you think? Was this a necessary step for Labour or a sign of deeper problems within the party? Share your thoughts below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Watch more videos here for the latest insights and updates.